Just bring to mind the four immeasurable thoughts. And so thinking, love, may all sentient beings have happiness in its causes. Compassion, may all sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. Joy, may all sentient beings never be separated from the happiness that is without suffering. And equanimity, may all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment, hatred, and indifference. Okay. So for this session, we'll do a little bit of recap, and then we'll do the practice of Thousand Arm Chenrezig with the 8 verses. And then we'll finish up and do some dedications. So, and of course, questions as well. So I got the questions that you sent via the Zoom, and we'll take on the questions too. I guess just to kind of clarify and recap the basic themes that are really important to go home with or to stay home with, is to remember that, okay, we've got compassion on one side, we've got wisdom on the other. And why do we emphasize one over the other? Yeah, and really think about daily life, okay? So sometimes in daily life, a friend comes to you in distress. Do they want wisdom or do they want compassion? We're thinking about daily life, ordinary stuff, and how Tantra applies to it and how the psychology of Tantra applies to it. And I want you to picture yourself as when you're the vulnerable person, when it's your rough day, and you're going to your friend and you need support. Okay, so say that your friend is really, really good at holding the space and being really sweet, really kind, and being like, oh my gosh, that's so hard. What's going on for you? Wow, that's hard. Yeah, that's a lot. I see you. I see that. What do you need? You know, logistical support, emotional support, spiritual support. What support do you need? And in that particular moment, you're like, look, that's really nice, but what I need is some wisdom. I need you to help me cut through my negative emotions. I need you to show me where I'm lying to myself. I need you to be the good friend that gives me the bold, direct, honest truths right now. Yeah. And your friend's like, oh, sorry, I was just being nice. Right? But the exact opposite could happen too, couldn't it? Where the friend says, okay, I'm going to give it to you straight. Here's your part in the drama. Yeah, here's the way you're making your own life harder for yourself and everyone else. I'm going to tell you straight, it's your pride, or it's your attachment, or it's your anger. And you're like, whoa. I know. Could you just be nice to me? Could you just hold the space? Could you not give me advice right now? Could you not tell me what to do right now? Could you not mirror all of that wisdom right now? Right now, I'm a little raw. Right now, I just need you to be kind to me. Yeah, I know what I'm going to do about this situation. I know what I'm going to do moving forward, but I just need a few breaths of someone seeing that I'm struggling and just being nice. Right? Yeah, do you know how this happens, right? It's like when you're in distress, sometimes you need the bold, direct, honest truth. Sometimes when you're distressed, you just need someone to hold the space and be kind and shut the hell up. Do you agree? And how do you know which one it is? You have to really know yourself really, really well to be able to notice the signs and the cues in someone else. And even then, it's still an educated guess, isn't it? And so when we're doing practices related to Manjushri, wisdom is emphasized, but compassion is implicit and goes without saying. There is compassion there, but wisdom is emphasized. When we're doing Chenrezig, compassion is emphasized, but it goes without saying there is wisdom. Wisdom is implicit. And so you don't have to worry too much about which one you're practicing. Practice either, whichever one resonates for you and what you feel like you need as a practitioner or what you're good at offering others. It doesn't actually matter. What matters is connecting deeply with either or both in such a way that there's the integration, that wisdom and compassion are never separated. And then you in the moment don't even need to think about Tantra. When you're in front of your friend, you're just present, and whatever is the needed energy is going to flow through you. Yeah. But again, if you're preempting it and you're over planning it and you're suffocating the spontaneity of the present moment, then you're going to go in guns loaded with all your compassion, and it's going to be the day that they actually wanted wisdom. Or you're going to go in guns blazing with all your wisdom, and that was the day they just wanted compassion. And worrying too much about what do they need in this moment specifically, in a kind of direct, I guess, overly planned way, it's a trap, because people are too complicated and they change too much. So everything with the Dharma is developing your skill sets on your downtime, developing your awareness, your wisdom, your compassion when you're by yourself on your own. And then in the moment with other people, just be still and lean in and listen. Yeah. And then it's not like, what should I do? What should I do? Or here's what I plan to do. Here's what I plan to do. It's that all of that background then becomes accessible. And in the present moment, you're just trusting yourself. It's like you have intuition that is addressing the present moment, but that intuition has been conditioned. It's not some magical, mystical thing in you that just wonderfully knows in this moment, here's what's needed. It's that all of that background work can kick in. So your intuition becomes a deeper intuition, and it's really not what we would call kind of magical, mystical intuition. It's a conditioned response based on your own development and wisdom. Yeah. So it's a delicate dance, because you really want to do the best thing for sentient beings. We're nice people, right? We want to know what's best for them, and we actually have no idea what's best for them. Sometimes they need tough love, sometimes they need love, right? We don't know. But what you can do is organize your own inner world and your own inner conversation, your own inner life to be steady. And for that steadiness to be well conditioned by your Dharma practice. Yeah. And have you felt that in those moments sometimes when you've been like on your game, where you've been really present with someone and really wanting to help them, but not with a lot of pressure and expectations? Yeah, when you're like, let's just kind of flesh it out. Let's see what's going to happen. Let's talk it out. And you haven't had this panicky kind of around the edges about what will happen if I don't say the right thing, what will happen if I don't help them right. When you've gotten rid of the panic, when you've gotten rid of the performance anxiety, the pressure to be profound, right? Or the pressure to be, I don't know, the one that's just infallibly accepting or something like that. When you've let go of all of your identity stuff about who you are as a good person, you're just present, then all of your life experience and all of your practice is accessible in that moment, and it'll kick in. You don't have to overdo it. It'll just kick in if you're present with a good motivation. Yeah. So all of this talk about being present in Buddhism, this is not a passive being present. You have to condition the way you meet the present. Does it make sense? You're conditioning the way you meet the present. And that's what we're doing with these work, right? So the first question was just a really good practical question from the Zoom. Denise was asking, where do we do the requests in the Manjushri meditation? So the requests, let's see. In Orange Manjushri, on page 13, is a little shorty request that we haven't done. So if you want to have a look at that, page 13 of Orange Manjushri, there's a short request for the 7 wisdoms. And this is in the category of one of those optional extras that you can plug into the practice, but don't have to. Yeah, so you can plug it in, but you don't have to. Were you to plug it in, you would plug it in by the mantra. So I know it's annoying to flip back and forth between pages, but basically on page 7, where there's the mantra recitation time. Yeah, you see page 7, the mantra recitation. There's that little bit in brackets that kind of invites you to go do the whole 7 wisdoms song and dance with all the visualizations and all the requests. It's kind of an either or, right? So either do the long version with each of the 7 requests and each of the 7 visualizations, or you're doing the abbreviated version, which is this request on page 13. And actually, you don't have to do either of them. Yeah, if you don't want to do all 7 wisdoms or this request, you can just look at it as written and continue on with the practice. Yeah, so it's almost like this one sadhana has short, medium, and long. Yeah, short would be just do it as written without any page flipping. Medium would be at that little bracket section on page 7, turn to page 13, do those requests, flip back, continue with Vajrasattva to the end. Long would be in that little bracketed section, flip to the 7 wisdoms, do all 7 wisdoms, flip back, do Vajrasattva, and finish. Does that answer your question, Denise?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. Yep. So the other question was, can you do the full practice of self-generation with 1,000-arm Chenrezig if you have a different Chenrezig empowerment? So His Holiness often gives the Chenrezig practice related to relieving pain specifically. It's that 1-face, 2-arm version. So maybe some of you have that one. Some people have 4-arm Chenrezig. And the rule is that when you have a great empowerment is one that takes a couple of days. Yeah, you have your preliminary day, and there's all sorts of smells and bells and bodhisattva vows and kusha grass and protection string, and then you sleep on it, and then the next morning there's the section about the dreams, and it's a whole, like, it's an elaborate thing, right? That's a great empowerment in Kriya Tantra. If you have a great empowerment of 1,000-arm Chenrezig, you can do 1,000-arm Chenrezig. But if you've only ever had a Jainam, which is a subsequent permission, which usually just takes a few hours, not overnight, yeah, just a couple hours, that's a subsequent permission tacking on to any great empowerments you've already had. So if you only have that, but you've never taken a great empowerment, you can't do 1,000-arm Chenrezig in the full-fledged way with the self-generation. Yeah. Some teachers will say, not all, some, if you have highest yoga tantra, yeah, like Yamantaka, something like this, then the lower tantra deities, you can arise as those deities even without the empowerment. Some teachers will say that. But generally speaking, you really only want to do practices that you've specifically had the empowerment for that specific version. Yeah. And there's an oral tradition related to each one of these deities. There's a particular energy and emphasis to all these particular deities. So, you know, there's a lot to be said for doing it by the book. And whatever empowerments you might already have are perfect and complete in and of themselves. They are enough to get you to enlightenment. You don't need a whole smorgasbord of empowerments. Yeah, so do the one you have, do it deeply. And if it's not hitting enough notes of resonance for you, there's probably a longer version of that same exact practice, but it's still the same exact practice that you have the empowerment specifically for. So you might want to do a hunt. And if that's still not doing it for you, you just wound up with one Jainam, one, you know, small empowerment, and you're kind of like, I would like to be doing something else, please. You got to request your teachers. Yeah. Request your teachers. And you can request His Holiness and request in your mind, request in your prayers, but also you could just write His Holiness's office and ask too. That creates the cause for it to happen. And a lot of these lamas are a lot more accessible than they seem to be. Yeah, they're like up on the high throne, right? And they've got all their like attendants and their entourage, and there's a whole kind of a hoopla, but actually they're just really accessible. You just can make an appointment, right? Yeah, like don't create distance for yourself that's not there. All of that kind of hoopla is to help us get into that mindset of this is sacred and important, therefore listen deeply, not to make you feel like you're less than or separate from. So be proactive about your practice, send a note through their secretary or their attendant and say, I would like to request such and such an empowerment. May I meet with the Lama and formally request it? Or you can do it in a formal letter with an offering and a kata. And as with all offerings, it's symbolic, right? It's not like you're paying for anything. It could be one flower from your own garden. It could be a dandelion from your own garden. If you think it's precious, it's a good offering. So it's really taking the reins of your own practice. Yeah, if you're not having all of the supports that you want to be having, ask for what you want. Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much. And it brings out another question that I had. May I ask it? As everything comes from our mind, during this retreat, I had more facility with Chenrezi, which I have had lucky enough to have empowerment for 2 days with on Zoom with Dalai Lama. I had more difficulty with Chenrezi when with Manjushri when I tried to see how it goes, and I think that it comes from me having difficulty with like speak out or debating or something. It was difficult. I had to really give detail, and it goes all over the place. Like when I was imagining the mantra coming to me, I was asking myself how long, how much, should I count it? Should I? And it was going like all over the place, and I bring myself back. I try. I just wondered if it's like when it's difficult, it's better the result for me, because I have difficulty to obtain it from myself, from my mind. Is it right?
I think that you trust your own experience in this case. I don't want to say if things are hard, that means they're better as like a general rule, because that feels like that's a slippery slope. Okay. But I think that for you in this moment, the way you're self-reflecting is really good. Yeah. So the way you're self-reflecting and saying, maybe my resistance to this practice is actually because I need this practice particular. So I think in your case, in this moment, really trust your wisdom, but don't make like a general rule that if it's hard, it's better. Okay. Because that's not the case.
Okay. Thank you so much.
But yeah, resistance is always worth investigating, because sometimes resistance is a wisdom that says this is not the right fit. And sometimes the resistance is my pride is confronted because this is confusing. So rather than challenge my pride, I'm going to pretend the practice is stupid, right? Instead, I'm just new to it and it's awkward and clunky. So I'm just going to write it off in a kind of teenage huff and say, it's too hard. I don't want to, So sometimes that'll happen, right? Sometimes it's wisdom, sometimes it's afflictions. And in the fullness of time, you get better and better at knowing which part of you is speaking. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Other questions about any of these practices? Yeah, Lauren, go ahead.
Genoa has a question for you.
Oh, yes, please go ahead.
Hello, Venerable. I missed a few sessions, but I was wondering where the visualization of the letters starts on the moon disc. Is it at the 12th position or the 6th position? And for the Mani and for the Manjushri? And then also for the deity visualization, how do you know when the deity is on your head? Is it a foot or so above? And is it facing this way or facing forward?
Yeah, good question. So the mantra garlands, when you're looking at them flat, the Om is 12 o'clock and then it goes around. But actually the visualization, it's all standing upright three-dimensionally at the heart center of the deity. So you've got the seed syllable in the center and then kind of, yeah, I guess farthest from you in this case, when the deity is in front, Om Arapatsana Adi, or Om Mani Padme Hum, like that. And I think in the Manjushri mantra garland on the very cover, very, very tiny is the English, right? So you see the Tibetan syllables, but if you really squint down, there's tiny English to show you. Now, in terms of when you're doing front generation, right? So front generation is when the deity is not you. Yeah, it doesn't always mean front. It means when the deity is not you. Self-generation is when the deity is you, and self-generation is only when you have the empowerment. So when you don't have the empowerment at the beginning of the text, when you're doing refuge and things like that, generally speaking, that's the time to have the deity in the space above your crown. It says just a few inches above your crown, kind of here. And the deity is always facing the same direction as you whenever you visualize them above your crown. And the size of the deity above your crown is, usually about the size of this statue is a nice, good rule to have. When the deity is in the space in front, if you're doing shamatha, single pointed concentration, again, this size. But if you're not doing shamatha, if you're doing just visualization of the mantra garlands and nectar coming towards you and purifying you, it's okay to visualize bigger. So when the deity is in the space in front is during the mantra recitation time. Yeah. And it's in these beginning stages, it's okay to keep the deity at the crown the whole time or the deity in front the whole time, if that's more comfortable. But generally speaking, the beginning of the text, refuge, bodhicitta, that kind of stuff, they're at the top. And then they move to the space in front for the mantra recitation time when the nectar is coming and flowing towards you. But it's not a hard and fast rule. Like for the Chenrezig, forearm Chenrezig practice, for example, the deity is here sending nectar light down from their heart to your crown, like that. Yeah. So it helps to just like really slowly read the visualization when it's written in that way, because sometimes there'll be an indication. But when there's not an indication, mantra recitation time is a nice time to have them in front, but you don't have to. The main thing is to not ever see yourself as the deity until you have permission to do so. The permission to do so comes with the empowerment. So that probably didn't make it much clearer for you.
No, it did help a lot. And thank you very much. And so I just wanted to clarify for sure, both the Mani and the Manjushri go clockwise.
They go clockwise. Yep. Not all mantras go clockwise, but these ones do.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and they're not moving. The light is moving, but the mantras are static. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of animations, even animations that I use, will show them moving because you're supposed to have the sense of being able to hold awareness of all of them simultaneously. But that's just a teaching tool so that you get the impression of how you're supposed to be able to visualize. Yeah, but static, the light moves.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, other practice questions? Rumors or rumors?
When you do the mandala offerings,
Yeah.
you're supposed to visualize whatever you're offering within a mandala.
The mandala offering is not the same thing as the mandala of the deity or the sand mandala, or mandala means different things at different times, right? So when you're doing a mandala offering, you are sort of visualizing a whole Pure Land extravaganza, but really it's much more like you're visualizing that all of the beautiful things of this world you're offering. So you're visualizing that you're offering all of the beautiful things in this world. And it says, Mount Meru, the 4 continents, the sun and the moon. And you're like, what? Right? And this is, Abhidharma Kosha cosmology. Take it with a grain of salt. Don't worry about it too much. It means the universe. Yeah. So the universe, everything beautiful in the universe. If that's too far out, just think everything beautiful on this earth. Yeah. And sometimes it'll say nice concrete things like saffron water and flowers and incense, you know, and a beautiful ground. But basically what you're saying is what's happening next is really important. I'm requesting it and making an offering for it. It also helps you interrupt the habit of attachment to those beautiful things. Yeah, so all of these things with offerings help you with attachment, create the cause for resources, help you develop the habit of generosity, lots of stuff happening simultaneously. So in terms of what you're visualizing, if it helps to start with even just what a built up offering mandala looks like, that can be nice. A built up offering mandala, maybe we have one, maybe not. If we have one, probably not. Oh, over there ish. Okay, anyway, but they're like a base like this. And then you've probably seen them, right? And then there's a circle and a circle and a circle and a Dharma wheel at the top. And it's filled with beautiful jewels. And that's symbolic of the whole environment and all of the universe. And you hold it out and you offer it. And then all of the blessings come in. If you don't have that whole accoutrement, you just use your mala and a mudra, your hands like this. Yes, like this. Shunk. So your thumbs are holding your pinkies. Your pointer fingers are holding your middle fingers, and your two ring fingers are standing upright. So these guys are the quote continents, but it really means planets. Yeah. And they're kind of the 4 closest planets that have life on them. So now we're getting really far out into the alien territory. Grain of salt, you know. But so 4 continents, and then the center is Mount Meru, right? So it's kind of looking like that. And you put your mala in there to add to the offering. And, you know, it's a little bit of like, I don't know, here's the church, here's the steeple, open the door, see all the people, like when you're a little kid, right? And you're playing with your hands. Yeah, but it gets really easy the more you practice it. So use your thumbs to grab your pinkies. Yeah, but they're crossed pinkies. And of course I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, so I'm hypermobile and they're going all weird directions. Yeah, and then you cross your middle fingers and grab them with your pointer fingers. Yeah, and then your 2 little ring fingers stand upright. Yeah, yeah, see what Lauren's doing? She's got it. Yeah, yeah, like that. Yeah, so it's a cross, right? Cross and cross. Yeah, grab and grab. Yeah. Anyway, we can show you later. But the mudra is not even the main thing, right? It's just thinking, what are the beautiful things I've seen in this life? I'm offering it to the guru deity. Yeah, you don't even have to overthink it, just beautiful things. Sometimes it's like, oh yeah, those fireworks, I saw that one time. Right? That beautiful fields of flowers, I saw that one time I was in France, that, you know, whatever, like that cool house I saw in Grand Designs, that was a cool house, right? Like whatever, you know, beautiful things, particularly things that trigger attachment. Offering things that trigger attachment is very useful. So the mandala offering, don't mix the mandala offering with if you're doing more elaborate deity practice and there is a mandala that you visualize the deity living in. It's related, but not as related as you might be making it. Yeah. Is it more clear or is it less clear? Do you want to ask a follow-up?
No, that's clear. That's good. Thank you.
Yep. And sometimes there'll be the long mandala offering. And if you ever read the long mandala offering, like in the Tara Puja, or sometimes we do it during Guru Puja, not always. If you read the English, it makes no sense, right? You're offering the precious cow and the precious minister and the precious queen and the precious this and the precious that and all sorts of goddesses and, you know, the rose apple people land and all of it. And you're like, what Buddhists, what? And really think, what do the Buddhas want? They want practice. That is a mandala of 37 heaps. 37 is not accidental. We're talking about the 37 aids to awakening. So there's actual things you can visualize, but at the root, all of these offerings are offerings of practice. What the Buddhas want is for you to stop hurting yourself, to stop hurting other people, to have stable happiness. And so practices that move you in that direction is the best offering you can make, because that is what they want, is for you to be at peace. So whatever you're visualizing, you're tying in the mentality, the offering is my practice. Yeah. And these elaborate visualizations can be very, very useful for increasing mental strength and mental flexibility. And even if they're a little foreign or they're a little far out, it's interesting to see what happens if you just try to do as the commentaries say, and kind of like with a really no expectations, let's just see, this doesn't make tons of sense. I'll keep reading commentaries, I'll keep asking questions, but what if I just do it as written and see? It's interesting to check out. So lots of different heaps of mandalas, 37 heaps, 23 heaps, 4 heaps, 5 heaps, lots of different mandalas. At the end of the day, you're offering the universe. Yeah, other questions about bits and pieces that you might have got stuck on or wanted to expand on any of the practices?
I
Yeah.
have a question about Manjushri and memory. Memory, struggling with.
Yeah, more on memory. More on memory, yeah. Manjushri practice on its own with the mantra will help you with your memory, just on its own. That's one of the particular qualities of Manjushri. But if you want to emphasize memory and really like drill down as your main project, trying to get your memory back and to increase, which is like, welcome to the club. Yep. You're like, what? Yeah, and the brain fog too, like that brain fog that can happen. If you've got any kind of like health stuff that is interfering or age stuff or whatever, all of this can really help. And this is going to sound very silly, but it's interesting to try. And we usually do it before class when we're in the nunnery, when it's a bunch of like hardcore Buddhists, then it's not weird because we're used to it. Is when you finish your Oma Rapatsana D, so you've done your visualization, you've done your Oma Rapatsana D, however many you've decided to do. When you finish, you do just the seed syllable D 108 times in one breath. And you might not make it, right? You might not make all 108, but you do as many Ds as you possibly can in one breath. And you imagine that the letter D is on your tongue the whole time, pointing back. So right until you finish. And as soon as you have to breathe, you swallow, thinking that you're swallowing the D, and it goes down and lands at your heart center. Yeah, you swallow the D down to your heart, and you think, I've attained the journey of non-forgetfulness. Yeah. And I think it's even in either the chapter or the appendices of the Power of Mantra itself. Yeah, it's in there. So that is particularly to help you with your memory. Yeah, and even if you don't want to do the whole Manjushri practice, if you're just like walking the dog doing your Oma Rapatsana Ds, and then the dog is like doing his business, and you're like, all right, take your time. You can just kind of stop and be like, swallow, like no one has to know, right? You're doing it under your breath, but you're walking around, Oma Rapatsana D, Oma Rapatsana D, oh, taking a pause, time to do my Ds, So anytime you can recite these mantras is going to help support wisdom and compassion. It doesn't always have to be formally in the meditation context. So memory, Ds. Yep. Yeah, other questions or thoughts? Yeah, anything about the 7 wisdoms or the 8 verses of thought transformation? The 8 verses are a confronting and powerful practice, and we will do them in a moment. So if you got stuck on any of them, yeah. I hope that when we were talking about it, it was clear about what's the wrong way to read these and what's the right way to read these. Never in Buddhism is it an invitation to be a martyr. Yeah, no one's asking you to be a martyr. No one's asking you to accept injustice. No one is asking you to suck it up and soldier on. It's none of those vibes. It's about the inner conversation of how can I decide to make everything useful? How can I decide to make everything able to open my heart and develop my wisdom? And what's more, how can I be a presence in the room or in the world that makes people feel safe and at ease and not judged? that out of the competition, out of the game, that feeling. So if when you're reading these, you can, oh yes, I always consider myself the lowest of all. If you're starting to get like a droopy head, or you're starting to get a yes, yes, like no. Okay. I think that's clear, but it's easy that when you read them over and over to kind of like slide into old socialization. Any other bits? Would you like to do the practice? Okay, we're gonna do Thousand Arm Chenrezig. And so Thousand Arm Chenrezig for the heart. And again, you don't have to read the visualization if you don't need to, if just me reading it out to you is enough of a prompt. But if you'd like to see the words, then have the words ready to see. Okay, back to meditation posture. Straight back and body awareness. And just check in, how is the body? Anything that you've allowed to get too tight, just invite a release or a relaxation. And the quick way to invite your body to relax is just to visualize that water, the perfect temperature, is poured on top of you. That everywhere the water touches, everything settles and relaxes. And your body develops a very strong back and a very soft front, which is of course related to your mentality for life. Strong back, soft front, stable as well as receptive. Strong as well as warm. And as the body balances, shift your focus to the breath. And if your focus becomes like a balloon that's flying away into the sky, imagine that your focus grabs the string and pulls it back in front of yourself. Hold your focus just on the breath. And shift to the visualization. Visualize that in the space in front of me is the divine form of Thousand-Armed Chenrezig, who is the embodiment of all the infinite Buddha's compassionate wisdom. He stands on a lotus and moon seat. His body is in the nature of white light, youthful and decorated with magnificent jeweled ornaments. He has 11 faces. Of the 3 on his shoulders, the center face is white, the right green, and the left red. Above those, his center face is green, the right red, and the left white. Above those, his center face is red, the right white, and the left green. Above those is a wrathful dark blue face with yellow hair standing erect. This is the face of Mahakala, the wrathful aspect, one of many, of compassionate wisdom. On top of that is the red head of Amitabha Buddha, peaceful and smiling, the head of the Lotus family. Chenrezig's guru, one in nature with all our gurus. Chenrezig's first two hands are at his heart, palms together, holding a wish-fulfilling gem. On his right, the second hand holds a crystal rosary, reminding me to recite the mantra. The third hand is in the gesture of giving realizations, and from it a rain of nectar falls, curing the hunger and thirst of the hungry ghosts. The fourth hand holds a Dharma wheel. On his left, the second hand holds a golden lotus, the purest of flowers, although born from the mud. The third hand holds a vase containing the nectar of his compassionate wisdom. The fourth holds a bow and arrow, symbolizing defeat of the four negative forces, Maras. See if you can stabilize those 8 hands. The other 992 hands are in the gesture of giving the highest realizations. In the palm of every hand is an eye. An antelope skin is draped over his left shoulder, symbolizing that peaceful, compassionate wisdom completely overcomes hatred. Radiant white, made of transparent light. One in nature with all Buddhas, with all teachers. And taking refuge in generating the altruistic intention, page 4, together. I take refuge until I'm enlightened from the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, by the positive potential I create by practicing generosity and the other far-reaching attitudes. May I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, by the positive potential I create by practicing generosity and the other far-reaching attitudes. May I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, by the positive potential I create by practicing generosity and the other far-reaching attitudes. May I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were to abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. May they abide in this way. I shall cause them to abide in this way. Guru Chenrezig, please inspire me to be able to do so. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings had happiness and its causes. May they have these. I shall cause them to have these. Guru Chenrezig, please inspire me to be able to do so. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were free from suffering and its causes. May they be free. I shall cause them to be free. Guru Chenrezig, please inspire me to be able to do so. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were never parted from upper rebirth and liberation's excellent bliss. May they never be parted. I shall cause them never to be parted. Guru Chenrezig, please inspire me to be able to do so. And the 7-limb prayer will pause at rejoicing. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every type of offering, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. And so pausing to do the meditation on rejoicing, which is to first contemplate the positive actions you yourself have done and are doing. And so think all of the acts of practice and patience, of concentration that you've tried this weekend. All of the deep thoughts, all of the effort. All of the kindness you've shown one another, and the service you've offered to each other in the center. Just allow yourself to rejoice in that positive action. All of this is merit leading to enlightenment. All of this makes the world a better place. And also rejoicing in all of the positive actions you do in your daily life that are maybe so habitual you take them for granted and don't acknowledge how important they are. All of the everyday kindnesses to your friends and family. Cleaning this or cooking that. Sharing this resource or this idea. Presence. Acceptance. If you have pets, the way you care for them, the generosity and patience you show them. And whatever work and hobbies or neighborly activities, all of the ways that you're good to people, let yourself acknowledge those. Yes, dependently arisen. Yes, no need to identify with them. And still good is done. Let yourself rejoice in that. And rejoicing in all of the positive actions of your fellow retreaters and all of the staff and volunteers at the center. All of the people practicing with a good heart, altruistic intentions. A brave and bold move in this world. and rejoicing in all places of positive practice. Any religion or spiritual tradition with ethics and kindness at its core. As well as all secular institutions and charities that promote the welfare of sentient beings. Inner development, outer service. So let yourself acknowledge and rejoice that good is done by ordinary people every day. And then rejoicing in the activities of holy beings, all of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, those manifesting as humans, those manifesting in other ways. People like His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Just how remarkable and wonderful it is that such positive things are done. These beings that show us the potential of our own mind. How wonderful, how precious. Rejoicing in all of the beings who have achieved the state of Chenrezig, of Manjushri, who have become Chenrezig. And continue with the prayer. Please remain until cyclic existence ends and turn the wheel of Dharma for sentient beings. I dedicate all my virtues and those of others to the great enlightenment. This ground, anointed with perfume, flowers strewn, Mount Meru, four lands, sun and moon, I imagine as a Buddha land and offer to you. May all beings enjoy this pure land. The objects of attachment, aversion, and ignorance, friends, enemies, and strangers, my body, wealth, and enjoyments, I offer these without any sense of loss. Please accept them with pleasure and inspire me and others to be freed from the three poisonous attitudes. Yadam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniyatayani. O Arya compassionate one, who is the treasure of compassion, I request you, please listen to me. Please guide myself, mothers and fathers, in all 6 realms to be free quickly from the great ocean of samsara. I request that the vast and profound, fearless awakening mind may grow with the tear of your great compassion. Please cleanse all karmas and illusions. Please lead with your hand of compassion me and my greatest to fields of bliss. Please Amitabha and Chenrezig, in all my lives be virtuous friends. Show well the undeceptive pure path, and quickly place us in Buddha's state. And reviving your awareness of Chenrezig, we'll do each of the 8 verses with the visualization to purify and bless the mind related to each. Starting with verse 1. Determined to obtain the greatest possible benefit from all sentient beings, who are more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel, I shall hold them most dear at all times. Visualize much light coming from Chenrezig, flowing into you, completely filling your whole body. It purifies the selfishness and ignorance that prevent you from understanding the meaning of the verse. Gives you the ability to understand and integrate. And if you feel like you have enough mental space, you can add the mantra under your breath. Visualization, verse, mantra. Om Mani Padme Hum. Verse 2. When in the company of others, I shall always consider myself the lowest of all, and from the depths of my heart, hold others dear and supreme. Light comes from Chenrezig, flowing into you, filling you, purifies the selfishness and ignorance, brings blessings and realizations to understand and integrate. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Verse 3. Vigilant, the moment a delusion appears in my mind, endangering myself and others, I shall confront and avert it without delay. Purifying white nectar light from Chenrezig. Purifying as well as blessing the mind. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Verse 4. Whenever I see beings who are wicked in nature and overwhelmed by violent negative actions and suffering, I shall hold such rare ones dear, as if I had found a precious treasure. White nectar light flowing from Chenrezig, purifying and blessing. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Verse 5. When, out of envy, others mistreat me with abuse, insults, or the like, I shall accept defeat and offer the victory to others. Streams of white nectar light from Chenrezig to you, purifying any confusion, ignorance, and selfishness, bringing understanding to be able to understand and integrate, to develop. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Verse 6. When someone whom I have benefited and in whom I have great hopes gives me terrible harm, I shall regard that person as my holy guru. White nectar light from Chenrezig, purifying and blessing. Om Mani Padme Hum. In short, both directly and indirectly, do I offer every happiness and benefit to all my mothers. I shall secretly take upon myself all their harmful actions and suffering. White light from Chenrezig, purifying and blessing. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. And for this verse, then add Tonglen. Offering every happiness and benefit, taking all the harmful actions and suffering. These ideas riding on the breath. Each round of breath, weakening self-cherishing, strengthening cherishing others. And verse 8. Undefiled by the stains of the superstitions of the 8 worldly concerns, may I, by perceiving all phenomena as illusory, be released from the bondage of attachment. White light from Chenrezig, purifying and blessing. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. And now shift the visualization. Chenrezig now comes to the top of my head, facing the same direction as I do. Chenrezig also appears on the heads of all sentient beings who are seated around me. At the heart of each Chenrezig are a lotus and flat moon disk. Standing at the center of the moon is the seed syllable Hri, the essence of Chenrezig's omniscient mind of wisdom and compassion. This is surrounded by the letters of the long mantra, and inside this stand the letters of the 6-syllable mantra. All is made of radiant light. And you can think of all sentient beings as being in human form at this time. Filling the space around you, filling the room, the property, the state, the country, the world and beyond. All with a Chenrezig above their crown. From the mantras and Hri, much white light and nectar, representing the nature of Chenrezig's blissful omniscient mind, flow into me, permeating my entire nervous system. They totally purify all disturbing attitudes, negative karmic imprints, diseases, and obscurations. I feel completely pure and blissful. The light and nectar also fill me with all the realizations of the gradual path to enlightenment, especially Chenrezig's love, compassion, and wisdom. Similarly, light and nectar from the Chenrezigs on the crowns of all the sentient beings flows into them, purifying all negativities and obscurations, inspiring them with all the realizations of the path to enlightenment. And if it helps, you can concentrate on just 1 or 2 sentient beings in your life. That strong feeling of connection and aspiration for them to have purification, for them to have happiness and compassion. And then expand it out. And then we add the mantras to the visualization. Namo Ratnatraya Namo Hayayana Sagara Virochana Vuharatsaya Tathagataya Ahate Samyak Sambudaya Namo Sawa Tathagate Ve Ahate Be Samyak Sambuddha Be Namo Arya Avalokite Shoraya Bodhisattvaya Mahasattvaya Mahakarunikaya Tayata Om Tara Dara Diri Diri Duru Duru Ite Bante Sale Sale Prasale, prasale, kusale, kusale. Wari ili mili siri solam lapanai soham. Om mani padme hum. 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 Continue the mantra together with the visualization, all of the Chenrezigs, all of the light, all of the purification and blessings. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. When we think, I will live my life in a meaningful way and do all actions with the motivation to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And because we have such a noble intention, Chenrezig is extremely pleased. He melts into white light, absorbs into me. By Chenrezig absorbing into me, my mind becomes the nature of great compassion, loving kindness, and bodhicitta. My body is filled with light and becomes very pure and clear like crystal. The Chenrezigs on the heads of all the sentient beings melt into light, absorb into them, and bless them so they may progress along the gradual path to enlightenment. And we'll dedicate page 15. Halfway down the page. Due to this merit, may we soon attain the enlightened state of Chenrezig, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their sufferings. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. Due to the positive potentials accumulated by myself and others in the past, present, and future, may anyone who merely sees, hears, remembers, touches, or talks to me be freed in that very instant from all sufferings and abide in happiness forever. In all my rebirths, may I and all sentient beings be born in a good family, have clear wisdom and great compassion, be free of pride and devoted to our spiritual masters, and abide within the vows and commitments to our spiritual masters. In whatever guise you appear, O Chenrezig, whatever your retinue, lifespan, and pure land, whatever your name, most noble and holy, may I and all others attain only these. By the force of these praises and requests made to you, may all disease, poverty, fighting, and quarrels be calmed. May the Dharma and all auspiciousness increase throughout the worlds and directions where I and all others dwell. Kari rawe koe jinkam dir, Pendang dewa malu jungwei Chenrezi wan tenzing gatsoai, Shape site badur tengur chi. Savior of the snowland teachings and transmigratory beings, who extensively clarifies the path that unifies emptiness and compassion. To the lotus in hand, Lord Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be fulfilled. And then to seal with emptiness, we'll do the Heart Sutra. The Heart Sutra is on page 8 of this booklet, and Lauren will do share screen for people on Zoom. Page 8, halfway down the page. I prostrate to the Arya Triple Gem. Thus did I hear at one time. The Bhagawan was dwelling on Mass of Vultures Mountain in Rajagriha, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagawan was absorbed in the concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound perception. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom and beheld those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then, through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara: how should any son of the lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness without characteristic. unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness. No eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind. No visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomena. There is no I element, and so on, up to and including no mind element, and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly, completely awaken to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequaled, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering should be known as truth since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared. Tayata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisoha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagawan arose from that concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, saying, well said, son of the lineage, it is like that. It is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom just as you have indicated. Even the Tathagatas rejoice. The Bhagawan, having thus spoken, the Venerable Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, those surrounding in their entirety along the world of gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagawan. And so letting the essence of the Heart Sutra land, stimulating your awareness of emptiness. Do you have any questions while it's fresh? Or thoughts after having just done it? Do you feel confident you could do any of these practices by yourself if you wanted to? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, Denise.
It was just a big yes.
Oh,
Yes.
good. Good.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yay. Okay.
You mean when you say practicing by yourself, you mean reading what is like you read and you do it, you read it.
Yeah.
Or all.
Yeah, without anybody guiding you, without a group, without any prompts, if you were to just, be in your room all by yourself with the text, could you walk yourself through the practice?
Yes, I tried to do it last night before when we finished, and it seems that when I'm not with your voice guiding me, there's too many plays.
Yeah, right.
Like I have to put something like details, or there's sounds coming to me, and that was amazing. That's why I go to your YouTube channel each time I wanted to do something, because it's so tidy and makes me like come closer, concentrate and everything. And I tried once or twice, or it's too many places, like too many things comes, and it's not concentrated on one point. It's not tidy. I try, but
That's okay. I'm glad you said that. I mean, sometimes when you're getting used to a practice, when you do it all by yourself, there's kind of a weird self-consciousness or like a different kind of distraction. Like, there's distraction when you get led through a practice, but then when you're doing it by yourself, different types of distraction, or just sort of doubt of, am I supposed to meditate on this there, or what should I do there? And when you're really making friends with the practice, of course, listen to recordings of other people leading you through it, me or whoever else appeals to you. That's totally fine and excellent. But eventually you want to be able to do it all by yourself. So when you're getting into that, you just have to be strategic. So what you do is you just read the text without any pressure to practice, right? You're not practicing it, you're reading it and you're going, okay, when I do refuge in bodhicitta, I say it, and then I think these things. Okay, the next bit, four immeasurables. I say it, and then I think these things. And if at any point you get stuck and you don't know what you're supposed to think during those stages or visualize during those stages, you can go back to the recording, or else just do it in an abbreviated way. Just read it and kind of like put that in. I'm going to check on that soon, but I'm not going to get stuck. I'm going to check on that because I'm not sure what to do there. So I'll just say the words of it and increase my familiarity. I'll come back to the parts that I have gaps in. Because, even if you only understood one sentence of the whole text, it still has profundity and importance to it. So don't doubt the importance of your own practice when you self-lead it. It's the more you make it your own, the deeper it goes. So absolutely keep listening to recordings if they help, but slowly start to come to leading yourself through it if you can. Because it'll go more deeply that way. Yeah.
Yes, of course.
With pacing, right? Because some days you're going to be like, I really want to go in this part, but Yunten always stops here. I don't want to stop there. I want to stop there. Right? But it's trapped because it's recorded. Nothing I can do. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, other questions? And yeah, go ahead.
So I noticed all the sadhanas have four measurables essentially through them, and each one kind of has it in its own order.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why certain ones do it in certain order?
Yeah, it's interesting. You guys probably noticed this too, that the four measurables aren't always in the same order. Sometimes they're the short version, sometimes it's a long version that has a request with it. And there is also the Pali tradition version of the four immeasurables and the Sanskrit version of the four immeasurables. And so the question becomes, is it going to launch you into the practice the best way to start with equanimity as the basis? Or if you end with equanimity, is it going to reinforce the point of the thing? Because a lot of it, the positional difference is where equanimity goes, either at the beginning or it's at the end. And equanimity is not the same thing as resting the mind in equanimity in a balanced way in the meditative concept. Immeasurable equanimity is about having unbiased goodwill without partiality. And that's the basis for loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta. So you need equanimity. And so different practices will emphasize, make sure you've plugged that in. Others will say, I'm sure you have that plugged it in, just remember. Yeah, and it can be, it's just the sort of at the discretion of the author has been my main impression. The Pali tradition is not likely to have the request section tagged on, or the request for inspiration, or the may I be able to do this, I will do this part. So when you see those extra bits, those are the Mahayana version. But yeah, author's discretion. Author's discretion. There's a really good chapter in Buddhism, One Teacher, Many Traditions, you know, that one from Pema Chodron and His Holiness, on the four immeasurables. And it's really interesting because they talk about why this, why that, and the expanded version and the squashed version and where it comes from, and the sutras that it comes from, because it's not like the Buddha taught it just once, he taught it a few different times. And yeah, it's an interesting one to explore. There's also meditative jhanic states related to the four immeasurables, which are meditative concentrations. So it seems like just like nice things everyone believes, right? Love, compassion, joy, equanimity, yay, not even Buddhist. But actually there's all these layers and layers and layers. So it could be that that's the main part of your practice for ages, and the rest of it is just done gently and abbreviated. And that the actual visualizations and the mantra bits are things that develop over time, but actually your main weight is given to the four immeasurables, or the main weight is given to refuge and bodhicitta, and that would be time well spent. Because sometimes when the other bits don't work, it's because the foundation wasn't there. Yeah. I don't know, but was that your question, or did you have kind of an underneath question? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, any other practice questions? We can end early if you don't have questions, but we've got time if there's bits. Oh, good, good. Done. Okay, we can be done, no worries. No worries. So I'll put those recordings up in the next couple of days. I'm gonna tidy and edit out bits that are, you know, kind of just for you guys as group, but maybe not things that everyone in the world needs to have access to. Right? But all of the meditations will be there in their entirety, and most of them are already existing as recordings somewhere, and I probably emailed them to you already, but if I haven't, I shall. So thank you so much, everybody, for all of your really hard work and all of your really concentrated practice. I really appreciate it. So thank you very much. Happy practicing.
Before you go,
Thank you so much, Venerable.
Thank you, guys.
before you go.
Thank you. Safe journeys.
Thank
And
you.
wishing you good health and long life. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, Joe.
There's
everybody.
Joe.
I-